Lindsay, do you like to learn languages with friends?
Michelle, that's a great question. As long as everyone has bought into the idea that you're going to immerse yourself in English and speak English together, it can work.
Absolutely. I agree. There are different ways to motivate each other, and we're going to talk about this on today's episode. We'll talk about learning English with friends, the special people in your life, those friends, but also the TV show. We'll touch on the TV show too, guys. This is going to be fun. Make sure you hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. Lindsay, should we get into it?
Let's get into it, Michelle. Here we go.
Okay.
Hello, Michelle. How's it going?
Hi, good. Lindsay, how are you?
Awesome. Awesome. I'm excited to talk today about Friends, both the TV show a little bit, of course, and also just those wonderful people in our lives that make our lives so much brighter.
Lindsay, well, have you ever practiced learning a language with friends? Like maybe taken a language class with a friend or something like that?
That's a good question. Not really. I think most of my language adventures have been pretty much on my own because my friends haven't been learning the same language at the same time. I guess I kind of became friends with people in my Japanese classes in Tokyo, but they weren't my friends from before. So what about you, Michelle? Have you ever teamed up with someone?
I mean, I used to live with, no, I mean, I used to live in a dorm where we took some languages classes together, but I guess we were becoming friends through the class as well. But I don't think that I've ever been like, oh, let's just take a language class together, but that would be cool. But I mean, what do you think? What are the positives to doing that? Let's talk a little bit about, learning English with friends. First, we'll talk about the important people in your life, and then,
and then we'll talk about learning the TV show.
Sure, learning a language with friends. What are some of the good things about that?
Well, I think that language, again, we come back to connection, guys. Language is a connection tool. That's all that it matters for. And in our opinion, that's all that it matters for, right? So it can be motivating and fun when you can use what you've just learned to connect. And so you get to hang out with them more often. You have someone to practice with. You can be honest about things that you don't understand without feeling awkward or self-conscious. But actually, I kind of think people do feel a little self-conscious because they're learning in front of someone they already know. I don't know if you've heard students. I actually think it's in the other camp for a lot of people that they would rather make a mistake in front of a stranger than a friend because there's pride there,
so this very much reminds me of this idea of when I used to perform more. Unfortunately, I don't do much anymore, but I would be so scared to practice in front of 3 friends.
Exactly.
And much more afraid of that than to perform in front of 100 people.
Exactly.
It's an intimacy thing.
And I have the same thing. I'm the same way. I'd much rather mess up or give a speech and have it be a complete disaster and have no one I know in the audience than having all my colleagues or people I know and people I respect and look up to. And that, there's just so I actually disagree. I think it's a negative.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. I thought you might be less self-conscious, but you might actually be more. I mean, I think a negative too. I mean, but I do think that it could be motivating and fun. You can kind of challenge each other. But I think a negative to learning with a friend is you might be more drawn to your first language. When practicing with them, you might maybe slack a little bit more, get distracted. What do you think?
Oh yeah, for sure. You could easily just slip into that first language more easily if you speak the same one, slack off. Oh, we don't want to study. Let's go to the bar instead. Things like that. There may be less accountability. Right.
Exactly. And I mean, it could. I mean, if one person, let's say you're trying to study together and one person is taking the class more seriously.
Yeah.
Right. And awkward. Then the other one, it could maybe strain, your relationships. If you're not good, study buddies, right?
Right. Or it could just be awkward. Just awkward. Let's say one person is very earnest, and that's a great word right there. Earnest. Earnest and serious about learning. They're taking this in completely. Let's say you've joined a community class, right? Learning a language. you want to do well, but your friend is just slacking off. They don't care. They're goofing around. Maybe they don't have any confidence that they can actually learn, so they're goofing off. Then how do you talk to that person and say, hey, I want to take this seriously. I actually want to learn. To me, it feels like it opens up a can of worms.
Well, you know what? This actually makes me think about an episode of Friends.
That's hilarious. Which episode,
Yeah,
Michelle?
well, there was an episode where Rachel and Phoebe decide to take a class, just like an adult education, I think like a literature class.
Okay.
And Phoebe like takes it very seriously, and Rachel just always like comes in and she's like, "Oh, I didn't read it. Like I didn't like, you know," and then like she ends up like getting very frustrated. So that actually reminds me of an episode of Friends.
What a great show too. I always, sometimes it's on TV and I'll catch it. It still makes me laugh. It makes me feel like the world can still be kind of light, lighthearted, and we can still laugh. Like there's such heavy news on TV these days. And then sometimes Friends is on. I'm like, I'm not going to watch CNBC or CNN. I'm just going to watch Friends and just laugh and enjoy.
Exactly. I've got Lindsay, I've got a Friends reference for every situation.
You do, Michelle.
That's my superpower. So anyway, so let's talk more about using first language. I mean, so how can we, like, let's say we're taking, we're learning English with our friends. What can we do to avoid slipping into this pattern? I mean, this is not to say that all friends you learn with will have the same first language or the same study habits, but
right.
Let's say in the event that you are in your home country and you're taking a class together, or maybe you are abroad and you are living with people who speak your first language. I mean, and it might be easy to kind of slip into that sometimes, and you want to watch out for that. Of course, it's unreasonable to say that you're only going to speak in English all the time, but I mean, what are some things that you could say if like you feel like you want to speak English more?
Yeah, I mean, so we're going to give you guys a couple phrases right now, but I'll just say at first, saying these phrases in English is the first step, right? Instead of saying them in your first language that you share with that friend. So just by speaking in the language to the person, you're indicating to them, hey, I want to practice. So, get into it or hit the highway. No, not literally, but so here's a phrase we could say, guys. Again, this is what you would say to your friend who speaks your language or another language about your desire to use English. You can say, let's see if we can speak only in English for the next X minutes. So you could say 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 3 hours, whatever it is, right?
Right. True. And I feel like that kind of is a fun thing to say because it's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Like you could say it as a plan, or you could be like, all right, we're at this restaurant. Let's see if we can just speak in English for the next 5 minutes, only in English.
Fun. It's like you're proposing kind of a game and a little bit. Let's see what we can do. And you're also using we. So you're not saying you need to speak English more to me. You're saying we. Let's see how we can do this.
It's the two of you. Yeah. Or more than that too. Another thing you could say, and this is another kind of game-like thing, is the first person to speak in blank, whatever the language is,
Japanese,
this afternoon, this evening, whatever, owes the rest of us lunch, or owes the rest of us, or like has to do the dishes, or if you're there, your roommates, like something, like another way to make it a game.
Yeah, I like these, Michelle, because they are playful. They're still playful. You are communicating a very clear message that you want the language of the day to be English, but they're still playful and fun. You're not accusing. It's not accusatory, right? You're challenging your friends, and you're all together in this. That's why I like these.
Right. It's all of you together, and it's different if someone is like, Lindsay, you know what? We really need to practice our, Spanish more. So really, I think for the next 5 minutes, that's not fun.
No.
Like you want to say it in a I think you're going to get the other people more motivated if you make it a game, if you make it a challenge and put some stakes to it. Like, you have to buy me lunch, or you're going to whoever speaks in English longer can choose the movie we're going to watch tonight.
Yeah. It's kind of like human psychology. I mean, it's like when you raise kids, right? I've never raised a kid, but I imagine imagine everything has to be posed in the form of a game or a challenge or a quest. So you need to think about how you frame that to people. Adults are the same. They're not that much different than kids,
It's
right?
true. Yeah, no, it's definitely true. And like, I don't know. I think that that's just motivating and fun. And I would be much more likely to be like, all right, let's see if we can do it, rather than if somebody like puts it like the school assignment to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So
For
yeah.
sure.
I mean, Lindsay, what are some other tips you think you can think of for like learning with friends?
I mean, make it fun, involve pop culture. So get a book, get an article, get a TV show, make a movie club where every week you get together and watch a movie together and then you talk about it. So it doesn't have to be that you all have a textbook open together, right? Like
No.
use a piece of pop culture as the source of the content.
Right. I mean, another thing is you could do the homework together. Just be like, all right. I mean, you don't have to, but that is another way you can learn together.
Yeah.
Or you could go on outings and, like I said, make it fun, give challenges like dares. Like, for example, like challenge each person to make a new friend, or to have 3 conversations and report back. Or like you go to a restaurant and like, I challenge you to like ask the waiter 2 extra questions. Like,
yeah. So this is good. This kind of reminds me of our urban immersion adventures.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Remember we kind of had like scavenger hunts around Boston and New York City, and our students were coming back, reporting back in English what they did. And they were together with a friend from the program. And in some cases, they spoke the same language, but they used English the whole time. They wanted that experience together. So for sure. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and this way you kind of become each other's teachers. Like you make it fun, you work together. And just like I always say to my students, like, even if you say, let's talk together only in English for, 2 minutes a day, right? Even if you do 2 minutes a day, even if you're tired at the end of the day and you say, let's just talk for 2 minutes, or whatever, like, let's just do it. That's already, if you do that for 2 minutes a day, that's 14 minutes in my math skills. That's 14 minutes a week, right? Yep. However, a month. And like, it's just increasing it, even if it's just a tiny bit. So like, just try and push yourself.
Exactly. There's no standard. Like it's not like it doesn't qualify as practicing unless you hit a certain amount of time.
No.
Right? It's the same with really anything. It's muscle memory. You're teaching yourself anything you can do with that. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes is so good. The important thing is that it becomes a habit, right, Michelle? That we make it a habit. We do it every day, or at least 5 days a week or something. Right.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, I mean, guys, I think that the main thing is to remember, don't let your friends hold you back. Make sure that you meet new people, make new friends. And if you are, really, but also like use your friends as like, you guys are each other's assets. Like you can work together, make it fun, but don't let it be like, oh, this one friend isn't interested in speaking, this one friend isn't into the challenges and isn't into the whole thing, kind of goofing off, slacking. Yeah. And don't let that pull you down. Go after your goals and be honest about your goals.
Be honest about your goals, and just remember the famous Jim Rohn quote, right? You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if your friends are just not getting on board, if for whatever reason they just are not taking it seriously, they just want to keep speaking your native language, think about learning with different friends that have higher quality goals and are trying to achieve something big in their lives, right, Michelle? I mean, sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. So that's a piece of it too. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So Lindsay, I think that's the takeaway. If your friends don't have the same goals, that's okay, right? Yeah. You can acknowledge this and go on your way. And in any case, you should be making new friends, but hopefully you can, use these ways to motivate each other. So I hope that we've given you some ideas to now, if you're kind of working with your friends, you can be like, all right, let's try, like, let's make it fun. Let's play some, casual bets on, but people buy food or people do this. I'm not encouraging betting, but you know what I mean? Like, just make it your own, make it fun, make learning English like unique to like things that you maybe already like as friends.
Yes, that's so true. That's so true.
So I think that's going to be motivating. So definitely learn English with friends. your special people, and also the TV show is great.
I love that. That's so funny. And guys, remember, by the way, this episode has been on YouTube. This episode is right over there on YouTube. So if you want to see us and hang out over there, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search for All Ears English over on YouTube. And you can we put at least 2 of our episodes a week on video over there. So good. And Michelle, thanks for hanging out today and talking about this.
All right. Thanks, Lindsay. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
Bye.